Hello, my name is Tammy Beasley. I'm a registered dietitian and sports nutrition specialist, and today we're going to talk about performance nutrition for swimming. Nutrition concerns during practice, three key points. One good pre-event fueling meal can never take the place of solid, good, healthy nutrition all the time. So I can't stress that enough, but today we are going to spend most of our time talking about pre, during, and post fueling for not only swim practice, but also swim meets. Secondly, competitive swimmers typically burn a lot of calories, 3,500 to 4,500 calories in a single day of practice, let alone meets. So their needs are high, but the opportunities are tricky. The problem with that is they're doing continuous repeating sets, so it's often difficult to stop and get the fuel in that they need. And then third point, twice a day workouts. That's where timing is going to become such a critical component of nutrition, and making sure that you're fueling well for performance is really keeping an eye on that time. So let's break it up, and first let's talk about before early morning practices. Experiment with fueling, obviously, during practices, never during a competition. That's just standard rule 101. Just wanted to make sure I remind you of that. But secondly, consider eating a small carbohydrate snack within 15-30 minutes of actually getting into the water for the first time. This can be something very simple. You want it easily digested. We do want simple carbs more at this time than we do high fiber carbohydrates. For example, toast with a little jelly or honey, or even graham crackers, or with a banana, or just graham crackers or a banana separately, either one. Those with experience with previous clients of mine have done really well with just giving them that little energy boost to get the metabolism going and practice started at a good place. And then some, of course, are going to be nauseous in the mornings. I hear that a lot. And if you do feel like you struggle with that, I still want to encourage you to start very simple, very small, a simple graham cracker, and just work your way up and continue trying to build a tolerance, because usually nausea in the morning can be overcome with repeated over and over, small step, little more each time, just repeated practices. And then finally, of course, drinking a sports drink right before you jump in. That's an easy to do thing that will not affect nausea in any way, and it gets that fuel into your blood and to your muscles very, very quickly because it's already in a fluid form. So hopefully that gives you some tips. And then during and after morning practices, we've got before covered, so let's move to during. During, alternate between water and sports drinks. I've had too many of my swimming athletes tell me that I can't stop, or I don't stop, or I'm in the water so I don't even think about drinking because water's all around me. It's critical. Your body, even if you're in the water, you are losing fluid. The possibility of dehydration is very real for a swimmer, just like it is for a runner. So it's very important to prevent that dehydration, because the dehydration itself cuts your performance. Studies show 20% reduction in performance by just a couple of pounds of dehydration from sweat loss. So that's just too much to risk, especially when a swim meet can be a matter of seconds, milliseconds, and who wins and who places second. It's also very important to maintain that blood sugar. I had one particular athlete simply add Gatorade, sitting on the side, and she would, in between her sets, just take a swig or two. It made a huge difference in her performance, and she actually was able to set a new record time for herself by just that simple change. So don't forget how important fluids are, and don't just use water if your practice is 2 hours, because you're going to need that sugar coming in after at least an hour of movement. It's time for the Gatorade or any kind of similar sports drink. After morning practices, it's critical, eat a recovery snack. The window of time that your body is most open to refueling energy and building back the muscle tissue to be stronger is that first 30-minute window. So if you happen to know that breakfast is going to come within 30 minutes of finishing your practice that morning, great, you're set. But if it's going to be later than that, I strongly encourage you to plan ahead and have something very simple, easy, like low-fat chocolate milk. The studies repeatedly say that low-fat chocolate milk is really one of the best post-recovery fuel sources that an athlete can choose to have. It's natural sodium, natural potassium, great energy, perfect ratio of carbohydrates to protein, and I'm not on the Dairy Council board, so I get no kickback for saying that. Another option would be certainly, again, an easy breakfast meal, but often athletes are not as excited about a solid meal as they are about drinking their calories, because exercise does cut into your appetite, at least for the first hour. You just don't feel as hungry. Okay, a couple examples of recovery breakfasts just to walk through. If you have time to prepare, can't get better than scrambled eggs, Canadian bacon, on a whole wheat English muffin, fresh fruit, something like oatmeal. You can cook that with milk to bump up the protein. Add some nuts, fresh berries, or banana. If you're in a hurry, take a whole grain wrap and throw turkey and cheese in it, wrap it up, grab a banana, jump in the car, off you go. Of course, whole grain bagel with peanut butter and fruit such as apple slices, grapes is always a favorite of many athletes that I work with. If you're not a breakfast eater, don't skip it. The most important meal, especially post-practice. But some examples, if you're just not into the solid breakfast meal, could be a power smoothie, where you use low-fat milk and or low-fat yogurt, bump up the protein by adding a scoop or two of whey protein, fresh and or frozen fruit, and peanut butter is always optional. Protein energy ready to drink supplements such as Boost or Carnation Instant Breakfast is also an alternative that I would recommend if you're one of those that's just not going to stop to take the time to eat. At least drink your breakfast. Thirdly, protein energy bar like Cliff Builder. Most energy bars either have too little protein or they're really protein bars with too little energy. Cliff Builder is an example of one that has a great ratio of carbohydrates to protein. A similar amount of protein in, honestly, about 3 eggs. So it's really worth it if you're in a pinch to have something like that on hand, throw in a fruit with it, and you've got a balanced breakfast. Okay, let's move to before and during afternoon practices. Healthy lunch meal, can't say enough. I'm counting on you to constantly, consistently, every day think about your good nutrition. But if you do have a healthy lunch meal that has whole grains, fruits, veggies, those provide the energy, and lean protein in the form of dairy or turkey, chicken, tuna, any of those options, even peanut butter, then I know you're going to be good to go, because that's probably about 2 or 3 hours before your afternoon practice, so that's perfect timing to have more of a full meal such as that. Then repeat the same fueling principles as we went through during the afternoon practices. Alternate water and sports drinks. If your practice is a couple of hours, you want to definitely make sure you have the sports drink option after that first hour. And then consider high potassium fruits that you have maybe cut up, easy to go, watermelon chunks, orange slices, already peeled, ready. Those are great nutrition and give you not only some fluid as well as energy. And that's an option if you would like to try that on the side when you have a short break. After afternoon practices, you'll hear it from me every single time within that first 30-minute window. Fuel, so important. Your muscles will thank you, your performance will thank you. And we've already mentioned several options, the low-fat chocolate milk, of course. Greek yogurt flavored, a fruit-flavored Greek yogurt. I love Greek yogurt because it has twice as much protein as regular yogurts. Low-fat included, and it has less sugar than some of your more popular yogurt brands. So it's a perfect combination and ratio of what we're looking for. And then, of course, an energy protein sports bar. Some other examples are Luna, Zone, or Balance. Those are fast and easy. So within 2 hours of completing the afternoon practice, that's when we're going for the healthy, balanced dinner meal. Goal: 2/3 of your plate from energy foods, grain, fruits, vegetables, and 1/3 of your plate from protein, and you've got the perfect balance. And then you're ready to start the next day. Okay, let's talk specifically about swim meet specifics. Events are scattered throughout the day. The athlete may swim several high-intensity events, but the yardage will not be nearly as high as in a practice setting. And fueling between events is absolutely critical. So, what can we do? If it all matters, it's all based on the amount of time you have before the next event. That's what you have to judge your choice of nutrition on the time. If it's less than 1 hour, you've got to think easy to digest. You've got to eat something that gives you energy. You don't need the protein. Protein will slow down the absorption of the energy. Fats will slow down the absorption of the energy. So that's why think carbs. The quicker you are to the event, the closer you are to that gun going off, that's carbohydrate territory. Example, banana, graham crackers, sports drinks, even sports gels, but don't forget, if you have a sports gel, you need extra water with that. It's basically like the concentration of the sports drink minus the water. So it'll actually cause stomach cramping if you don't also hydrate extra with a sports gel. If you have longer than, say, 2 or 3 hours between events, that's when you add more carbs and possibly a little bit of protein, but you definitely want to concentrate on getting more carbs as a priority. For example, a bagel or a high-carb energy bar, Cliff Bars, not Cliff Builder, but Cliff Bars. They have less protein, but they have more energy than most of your bar supplements out there. And homemade trail mix, that's where dried fruit, whole grain cereal mixed. If you notice, I really don't add the nuts yet. You could add just a little, but we're thinking energy, but more of it. Now, when we move to 4 or more hours between events, that's when we can begin adding the protein and those heart-healthy fats, because that's going to complete the meal and the balance, but also allow the carbohydrate energy that you're consuming to be absorbed much more slowly. So, for example, add turkey, chicken, or peanut butter to your bagel. Have a higher protein energy bar as a quick fix if you don't have access to a sandwich. And then this is where you would add nuts, seeds to the homemade trail mix. So you can see that the closer you are to the event, the more simple the carbohydrate and simple fuel you want, and the further back you go with more time between events, the more protein and monounsaturated fats that you can add. And then always, always refuel within 30 minutes after your last event. And you guessed it, can't go wrong with low-fat chocolate milk or, again, a protein smoothie. So fluid guidelines, couple more slides for you. What not to drink. Avoid energy drinks. So popular with especially middle school, high school, college age, but we don't even have time to go into my soapbox on why energy drinks are not the best choice for you. I've had too many athletes that actually end up having to stop in the middle of competition or not even be able to get started because of a rapid heart rate, jittery feeling, nervousness, inability to actually concentrate or perform because they're over jazzed. And you don't want to waste all that practice and ruin it with just consumption of an energy drink, which takes away your ability to perform at your best. Don't be swayed by the advertisements, and don't be swayed by quick fixes. Real food is never going to be better than that. You can't compromise, and you'll never fail by choosing to fuel with real food, real fluids, versus a fake energy source such as energy drinks. And then, of course, avoid caffeinated carbonation, and that means regular sodas as well as diet. So what can you have in the sense of fluids? You certainly want to maintain adequate fluids all day long. The air temps during meets are very hot, very humid, so that actually causes your body to lose more fluid just from the environment itself. We've talked through keeping water and sports drinks available, but the goal would be about half a cup to 1 cup, 4 to 8 ounces about every 20 minutes to no later than 30 minutes, ideally. And a gulp of water typically is about half an ounce, so you can judge your gulps and determine how many ounces you're actually drinking. A thought would be to weigh in immediately before and after an event, and for every pound that you've lost, drink 2 cups of fluid to compensate, to get that pound of hydration back. And then always check the urine color. The darker the urine typically is a sign of dehydration. So that's a quick check too. You won't have to always weigh in before and after if you keep a log of how many cups you drink and kind of what your habit tends to be and how much fluid you typically lose during different meets and different competition events. And that way it becomes a habit, and then you'll know exactly what to do to refuel your body hydration-wise. Okay. Hopefully we've covered some good tips for you that will be helpful and practical that you can put into use immediately. For any individual questions, I would love to hear from you. Please feel free to email me at my email address there, and best of luck. Thank you.